Second night of the NBA season, first full slate. I got every game from last night right here to the left of me. I'm going to scroll through game by game and give y'all my thoughts, early reactions, and different feelings and things like that. The first game that we tuned into was the Charlotte Hornets and the Brooklyn Nets. I will say this, and I want to add context to it. I think I said it earlier today on Numbers on the Board. I wrote, because this is my 2025-2026 NBA season notes. Everything in this entire thing is for this season. It's smeared a little bit, but you can see the writing right there. One of the notes I wrote last night was, I think I'm already done watching the Brooklyn Nets. And what I mean by that, with added context, it's not that I will never watch the Brooklyn Nets again this year. It's just that I went out of my way to add them. You know, the first night, all of the different games, I got a quad box here, a quad box there. I got 2 games pulled up over here. I don't think I'm going to be doing that much longer for the night. I think I'm already over that. If there are games that I rather watch or I'm more tuned into, they'll just be pushed to the side, right? Like that first night experience and excitement is always peak level. You want to see everything. I'm not going to be able to tune into a lot of this, right? So I was excited early. Michael Porter Jr., I believe, had 8 early points. Looked like he was going to go off for like 30. He finished with 12 points. Cam Thomas got to the free throw line a bunch, but the shot just wasn't falling. Shout out to Jaeger Demon. I do like Jaeger. But everything else with this team, like, I think they're going to be a little bit worse than a lot of us anticipated. And I just, they're in a very tough spot. That's the one thing I could say about the Nets. They are in a very tough spot. And I'm sorry to Brooklyn Nets fans to be, you know, Debbie Downer, but I do think it's going to be a little bit more worse than we were anticipating. On the flip side, and I don't know if this is how good they were, how bad the Nets were, maybe a little bit of both. But the Hornets, again, I feel like they have done this the last 3 or 4 years. With the start of the season, they're healthy. LaMelo is on the floor. They're playing fast. They're playing exciting. They're at home. Alley-oops, long three-point shots. The Charlotte Hornets were very exciting to watch. Everybody who stepped on the floor looked to add some type of value. Trey Mann, Colin Sexton, Diabate was on the offensive glass. Him and Ryan Kalkbrenner. You had Con Knipple looked well. LaMelo Ball was making some shots. Brandon Miller, is so good to see him back on the floor. I loved a lot of things that I saw with the Hornets, and I hope this is something that they can build on and a glimpse of the type of excitement that they can provide this year, and not just the early exciting game where they beat up on a team that they're a lot better than. One thing that I will say, and I'm going to drive this point home a lot, so y'all going to be annoyed hearing me say this on a YouTube channel, on Teed Up, and on the Numbers on the Board podcast, and any other podcast I guest on. Ryan Kalkbrenner. I cannot emphasize Ryan Kalkbrenner enough. Enough. Like, this guy is going to be one of the steals of this draft class because of how good of a player he is, but I also think he landed in a really good spot for the Hornets, being able to be a starting center as a rookie. Again, the way these guys shoot the three-point shots with LaMelo and Brandon Miller, even Con Knipple is going to have some high-volume three-point nights. Him being able to be a force on the offensive glass is going to be super, super big for them. Half of his rebounds were on offensive glass, if I'm not mistaken. Him and Diabate combined together for like 9 offensive rebounds. And then defensively, having a center who can take pride in the defensive side of the basketball court and anchor that paint, I think it's going to go a long way for them. So Ryan Kalkbrenner, Hornets exciting. Nets, we got a lot of work and a lot of things to build on. I do think, I will say this, my last point. Towards the end of the season, I may tune in to more Nets games, because that's when they'll let everybody like off the hook. Like, all of the rookies will just be able to run free because they have 5 first-round picks that they brought in. So we'll be able to see Powell. We'll see Wolf. We'll see the whole gang really get minutes. Right now, they're still playing the vets. Obviously, for the first half of the season, they'll get a lot of attention. And then, you know, you got trades, potential things that can happen. So once we start to see Noah Clowney and all of those guys heavily featured, I think they'll be a little bit more intriguing. But right now, I just can't. I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch many of those Nets games unless this is just one of those bad starts to the season and they show a little bit more hope and focus. The next game was the Orlando Magic against the Miami Heat. Very exciting game. 2 teams that I think are a good matchup with each other, right? Like, they kind of have the same type of bottom line and identity, that gritty or whatever. This was not that type of game. I was highly surprised that the Miami Heat was able to produce 40 points in the opening quarter. Like that was one of the first things I wrote down in my notes. Is like the Magic have basically given up a 40-point opening quarter to the Miami Heat, who I thought was going to have a slower offense, was going to be, the typical Miami Heat we've seen, but worse because there's no Tyler Hero. But Norman Powell came out and showed that last year was not a fluke at all. He is in tip-top scoring shape. Nikola Jovic gave them some bright minutes early. Bam, Khalil Ware, Davion Mitchell looked really, really good. So the fact that they were able to score the way that they did and hang in this game, they had control for a huge part of this game, and it made me think that they were going to be able to pull it out. And then down the stretch, Andrew Wiggins hit a very, very big three that I remember. The Orlando Magic, this game showed me just how dangerous they're going to be. A lot of us who were propping them up over the offseason, talking about the addition of Desmond Bane and just the potential of this team, a lot of it showed in this opening game because defensively, they got some things to figure out. You're not going to be able to give up 120 points to an offense like the Miami Heat. I'm sorry, if they're giving you 121 points, you're going to be in trouble when you play some of these other teams. But the fact that they were able to shoot it out because the offense is getting elevated with the Desmond Bane and the Tyus Jones additions. The first play of the game for the Magic, their first possession of the season, was a lob. I mean, anytime you're able to start the year on that type of note is extremely exciting for your fan base. And yeah, they're always going to have some of the questions about the three-point shooting and all of that. But man, their three guys who are going to lead them in scoring on a night-in-night basis came to play, and they made timely shots, big baskets, the big ones that keep you in arm's reach and continue to keep you in a fighting arm length distance. Franz was nice. Paolo was nice. Desmond Bane looked like a seamless fit. Jalen Suggs had some incredible moments in this game, and that's why we love, as NBA fans, to see Jalen Suggs healthy and with this group. I love their team. I love their tenacity. One thing that stood out to me was Tristan Da Silva being able to add in with 15 or so points off the bench, a guy that I told y'all in yesterday's episode of Teed Up to buy stock into. Majority of my top 10 guys I'm buying stock in headed into the season looked phenomenal in their first appearances of the season. I will say that. Majority. I think we had about 8 or 9 guys that looked, and we had a 1 or 2 that we're going to get some time to just adjust and get caught up with the season. But Anthony Black, too. Anthony Black, we really got to lock in. Anthony Black, I think, has to find ways offensively to contribute. As much as they love him and as much as they want him to be a part of what they got going on, there were times in his game where his offensive game just looked off and it hurt them significantly. And because they're growing and getting more options, like a Tristan Da Silva, if he isn't able to find his footing, I could see his minutes decreasing and somebody else, like Jace Richardson getting his number called earlier into the season. So that's something that I'm keeping my eye on for sure. Knicks versus the Cavs. My team. I'm repping my team right now. Great opening night for us. Always good to see basketball in Madison Square Garden, one of the best arenas of sports. First notes that I saw, or first things that stood out to me, a lot of play initiating for others outside of Jalen Brunson. That was the biggest thing that I saw immediately. I'm talking about Mikal Bridges was bringing the ball up, initiating stuff. I seen Cat bring the ball up and initiate stuff. I think that's going to be a big thing for us, not just now in the regular season, but for the playoffs where it's more important. And I think Mike Brown making that a concerted effort really lets me know where his mind is at. He's not really thinking about the regular season too much. It's more so watching the playoffs and watching some of the things that hindered us or that were problems and issues. And one of the problems over the last few years is the workload of Jalen Brunson. It is him exhausting all of that effort to initiate the play, get us into our stuff, heavy ISO, down the stretch relying on him. He's getting attacked on defense. It's a heavy workload and a heavy burden to do that for 82 games and into the heart of the playoffs out east, where we're playing against the Pistons, we're playing against the Cavs, we're playing against the Pacers. These are teams that are going to beat you up, the Bucks. The physicality is going to be there in that 7-game series. So being able to kind of preserve the energy of Jalen Brunson, because I don't know if a lot of y'all remember, but being full court press in all of those series over the last few years, I believe Philly full court pressed us a couple years ago. Detroit put bodies, Schroeder and Asar Thompson Andrew Nimhard, Aaron Neesmith, full court pressure, just really trying to drain Brunson. If we have the comfort and the familiarity to let other guys be able to initiate the offense and feel comfortable and confident in those roles, then you'll have to game plan a little harder and deeper to stop us offensively. The first game, the first shot of the game for Brunson was a catch and shoot three. And I believe I saw on Nick's Twitter, he had about 7 catch and shoot opportunities in this game, which was like one of the most catch and shoot looks he's had since he's been with the Knicks. And just little things like that. My biggest thing is making sure that this is something that becomes what we are and what we're about. See, the first couple of games, first week of the season, you'll have things like this happen, and then something happens, whether it's some adversity, an injury, a bad loss, and guys will revert back to those old habits. So I'm just hoping that this isn't like this honeymoon phase. We're going to see this for 3 games, and by game 20, Jalen Brunson is back just, controlling every single thing, and we're not seeing Mikal and OG and all of these other guys initiate offense. Cleveland, I thought played really well considering that they were down a couple of guys. I also felt like Evan Mobley's and his aggression showed us the mindset that he's going to have this year. And I think if he's going to play with that mindset, especially when they return to full health, they're going to have another outstanding and amazing year. They have depth. I thought Lonzo Ball fit like a glove. And defensively, they're always going to figure out ways to get timely stops, which will go into the offensive side, which Donovan Mitchell is just one of those guys that any moment in given time, he can score 7, 8, 9 points consecutively and have you right back in the game. There were a lot of times throughout this game where I felt comfortable as a Knicks fan, like, cool, we got this. I can shift my attention to this game or this monitor. And then I'll look back and boom, 6-point game. And then I'll look back, the Knicks are up 11. And then you look back, 4-point game. There's 3 from Donovan Mitchell. The Cavs just took the lead. And it's like, what the hell? So the Cavs have a fight. And I do think when they get full strength, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with again. And if Evan Mobley is playing with this aggression and he's looking for his shot this much, man, the Cavs are going to be crazy. Last note, the depth with the Knicks is real. Like, we weren't at full strength either, and it didn't even feel like it. Huck Porty on the offensive glass, very reminiscent of Mitchell Robinson. I love that type of depth where a player may miss a game or a player may not, be in foul trouble or just may not be there. And you have the same type of feel off the bench that can come in and do some of the same things and keep the play style and the role similar. It's always good to have that firecracker off the bench who can come in and change the pace or switch things up a little bit. But I think having personnel that can come in and keep the game plan similar is super nice and important. And Huck Porty was able to do that. Yabusele, Jordan Clarkson, Landry Shaman came in and made some threes. Deuce McBride was big. And then again, when we're at full strength, that bench unit will also be able to add Josh Hart and Tyler Kolek got minutes, something we've all been asking for. Very, very great night. Obviously, we will not play that many bodies on a nightly basis, but still good to see those guys get an opportunity to play early on. Next, probably the most disappointing game of the night, the Toronto Raptors beating the Atlanta Hawks by 20 points. I do say that with credit to the Raptors. The Raptors came out and played well. I said that on Twitter, and a couple of Raptors was like, oh my gosh, y'all get offended by any and everything. Brandon Ingram, I love seeing my guy back on the floor. I love it. I love the tenacity that this team plays with defensively. They got some dogs. They got some monsters. Jamal Shead and Scotty Barnes kind of leading your defensive, culture there is real good. Jakob Poeltl, I think one of the underrated centers in the association. And then RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett had another really good game. Him and Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes, they all looked like they were able to coexist together for the most part. Now, I will say there are probably going to be other teams and other games that maybe expose them a little bit or make it a little bit more tougher. The Atlanta Hawks could not get a stop. I don't know what's going on with them defensively. That was like a shit show because, again, as solid and as good as the Raptors are and can be, if they're scoring 138 on you while you're at home at full strength, you kind of like what I said about the Magic. And again, this is just the first game. A lot of things could get cleared up. But I'm telling you right now, with the expectations in the offseason that the Hawks had, this type of performance will get somebody fired. They cannot have too many more of these performances. The only positive thing I can say for the Hawks is Jalen Johnson looked like a fucking dog. And again, a lot of changes will be coming to Atlanta if this group does not do anything close to the expectations that the league has for them. This is a team that should be comfortably in a playoff race. They should be fighting for home court advantage. They could be a team that pushes to have multiple All-Stars. Doesn't mean that they will have multiple All-Stars, but one of those teams that have consideration for two guys. But you will not get there with these type of performances. There was times where I just didn't notice Trey was on the floor. And then defensively, just no answer for anybody. Ingram doing his thing, Barrett doing his thing, Scotty Barnes doing his thing, Grady Dick made some plays. They couldn't guard the drive. They couldn't guard anything. Very tough night for Atlanta. I know how badly they wanted to, on that home court, make that big statement like the Magic, a lot of these other teams that were able to come out and get that home court win. Just wasn't it, man. Super, super disappointing. But again, Jalen Johnson looked like, hey, if this team ain't going to do what they need to do and we need to transition into who we building this around or who's our heavily featured guy, Jalen Johnson is ready and will be able and willing. I mean, the passing, the scoring, he was a walking mismatch. He was phenomenal. One of the low-key better games of the night. Philadelphia 76ers and Boston Celtics. Started off this game really excited because I cannot wait to see more Jaylen Brown in this role, same with Derek White. And I was just intrigued with what the Celtics will look like. VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey, backcourt combining for 70-something points, kind of overshadowing how Embiid looked. And I know Embiid was only out there for 20 minutes. And again, kind of like Toronto, I was just like, hey, Embiid shouldn't be playing. They got a bunch of Philadelphia 76er fans that got their panties in a bunch because I believe that Embiid shouldn't be playing. I just didn't like the way he was moving. I get he needs to get in shape. I get you want him on the floor. But if he's not going to be healthy, I don't know. I just prefer him to get fully as healthy as he can be to be able to move in the way that we want Embiid to move. But at the same time, I get it. 60% of Embiid is better than anything else that they're going to have on the roster. So I guess you take it. But again, VJ Edgecombe, one of the best rookie performances we probably going to see this season, if not the best rookie performance. And it does put into your mind, like, we don't know what's happening with Embiid, the Paul George situation. They did get this win now, but if the season does go under them quickly like it did last year, they're going to have a little youth movement, right? Like, you have Tyrese Maxey, who's still a younger player, VJ Edgecombe, Quentin Grimes, Jared McCain, Justin Edwards. Like, they're going to have some guys to give some opportunity to. And see, even Dominic Barlow, who was a starting power forward yesterday, he played really well, in my opinion. I was caught off guard by how well he played. So I'm liking everything that they got going on there. And this is one of my favorite performances from Tyrese Maxey is when he's able to just be a straight bucket, just go. And I said on the podcast a couple months ago, Tyrese Maxey is a guy who has some upside to be able to lead the league in scoring. And I know people kind of seen what I meant, but I don't know if people was really looking at it too deeply because of the other names you think about with leading the league in scoring. But Tyrese Maxey is capable of having these performances on a consistent basis. He's not obviously going to average 40, but if Paul George won't be playing, if Embiid is going to be 20 minutes restricted and not looking like Embiid, Tyrese Maxey has no problem just hitting that takeover mode and going off. And when he is locked in and loaded like that, it's exciting. It's almost like Gilbert Arenas from back in the day, just a guard going crazy. Boston on the other side, Derek White, not the strongest shooting performance, but I just love the way he played. He was super aggressive. He looked like a guy that was the best player on the team for certain stretches. Jaylen Brown as well. Neemias Queta, really good in the paint. I liked him on the roll as a play finisher there. I know this is going to sound crazy because obviously Tatum is hurt, but it just feels like they're missing something. Obviously, they're missing Tatum, but like Al Horford was really important to this team. Obviously, I know I'm being Captain Obvious right now. They got to figure out, like, it just feels like this team is missing an Al Horford. I don't know where they're going to get that from, but they're going to have to figure it out because Al Horford gave them some things that just was missing a little bit. Maybe Xavier Tillman, I don't know, but Peyton Pritchard had a couple of opportunities down the stretch to win the game. I really wanted to see that happen. I'm not going to lie. I wanted Jaylen Brown game winner on opening night for the Celtics badly. He wasn't able to get the proper look. VJ Edgecombe played so great, but then missed the last couple of free throws. Nothing like the NBA to balance you out, man. When you're feeling high of the highs, you miss 2 free throws to bring you back down. But I was honestly, being brutally honest, surprised that Philly hung around and then won the game at the end. That was, to me, the best win of the night, in my opinion, was them being able to pull that game out. Bulls, Pistons. The Pistons fought back. They did. They fought back. They were down at one point like 22, 23 points in this game, and I was utterly confused. And this is one of my biggest concerns. This is just one game. It's 81 more games to play, and I'm not trying to overreact yet. We'll save that for like next week. But yeah, like the Pistons had such a great year. I just don't want them to take a step back. I want them to build on everything they were able to build on. But they got a lot of new guys. There's no Malik Beasley. There's no Dennis Schroeder. Jaden Ivey is dealing with the knee soreness or whatnot from his procedure that he went through, or his injury from last year, the ACL or whatnot. And yeah, it's going to be a little bit more tougher. I think people are also put on notice that the Detroit Pistons are a good basketball team, and Cade Cunningham is one of those guys, and you got to be locked in when you play Detroit now. And they're going to be getting the best effort like Chicago did. And to see them climb back was exciting. Ron Holland, I felt like off the bench, gave them a very big spark, and that's something that I think you want to continue to see as the season progresses. Him and Asar Thompson continue to take steps as their wings of the future. And Jalen Duren and Cade Cunningham still are on, that pick and roll is still dangerous. Beef Stew, very, very big and important minutes there. But yeah, they need a little bit of help at the guard spot. No Marcus Sasser, no Ivy again, and a lot is on Cade. And when Cade isn't on the floor, they just look a mess. And they got to be able to beat the Chicago Bull type teams, if I'm being honest. If they want to replicate what they did last year, even though the East is a little weaker and vulnerable, there's still some really good teams that ain't going to go out without a fight. So I want to see Detroit remain that team that we saw last year. Bulls on the opposite side, I feel like Nikola Vucevic, if he's playing games like this, he will not be a Bull for much longer in the season. He's going to be a lot easier for them to trade. Modest Buzelis, my dog, was looking really, really good. Josh Giddey had his moments. I can't wait to see this team at full strength. I feel like Kobe White would have made them look even better. The Bulls, though, fought, competed. Interesting things with the Bulls, because it's like, do the Bulls push to be good? Do they push to lose, tank, rebuild? I don't know, but yeah, it was a really good win for them. And I feel like if Nikola Vucevic is going to play this way, then teams are going to be calling the Bulls' cell phone and trying to really get him one of these playoff teams or whatnot. Modest Buzelis, though, I really love the activity that he had. I love the speed and the pace that they play with. Still taking some time to get used to Isaac Okoro. Being a part of this team still kind of throws me off a little bit. I'm so used to seeing him in that Cavaliers jersey. Next, another exciting game out west. You got the Grizzlies against the New Orleans Pelicans. Ja Morant looked magnificent. He looked like the Ja Morant that was in the MVP conversations a few years ago. Just no answer for him. Nobody can stay in front of him, and he was being guarded by Herb Jones. And if you're able to have the success he had last night on a defender like Herb Jones, then the rest of the league should be put on notice. And again, for the Grizzlies to be able to get a win like this, play at the level that they played at while they're dealing with all the injuries, it's going to continue to lead the door for them to be one of those teams out west that you quietly have to watch. I wasn't expecting them to come out the gate and look like that. I thought that they were going to start off slow and have to pick up. Nah, they look really well. Cedric Howard off the bench was just nasty. If it wasn't for VJ Edgecombe, I think we would be talking about this performance a lot. Didn't miss a single field goal. Made all of his free throws. Extremely active defensively. Fit right in as a transition piece with Ja and the rest of the gang. Really, really, really nice debut for Cedric Howard. And the Memphis Grizzlies do it again. They find another way to get one of these wings who is going to be extremely productive on the defensive side of the basketball while complementing the offensive style of Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson. I love the minutes that we got from Cedric Howard, and I would not be surprised if we continue to see an uptick in those minutes because, again, extremely productive, high energetic, ready to guard, full court, and just has really good defensive intangibles. You put him and Jalen Wells together on those wings, they're going to wreak havoc and cause a lot of chaos for opposing teams. Zion Williamson Really good to see him in this type of shape. Really good to see him moving as well. I told the guys on Numbers on the Board, one of the things that stood out to me in preseason was the fact that Zion had 9 steals in 3 games. Really light on his feet, able to cover a lot of ground, able to guard 2 in the pick and roll, show and recover, and use a lot of his quickness to, get in those passing lanes. Last night, 5 steals. Zion is moving and grooving. Still not seeing a bunch of those blocks. I think we'll start to see a few once we get into the swing of things here, but Zion is moving really swiftly. And the same thing, obviously, on the offensive side. Another impressive thing for the Pelicans, in my opinion, was the Jeremiah Fears 17 points. I was not expecting the Jeremiah Fears, performance like that immediately in the first game. They put him in a fire. He was playing down the stretch, and his ability to attack, get to the rim, and convert is very impressive for a guy his age. And a lot of people are going to be hung up on a jump shot. And, if he shoots the percentage low, I know that's going to be a heavy talking point. I could see Jeremiah Fears shooting 32% from 3 this year. I could see it. A lot of people are going to look at that, but his fearlessness, no pun intended, of getting to that paint and going up on people and finishing and being able to play within contact, like he's a guy that like I'm watching, because one thing I learned about him, obviously growing up in the Chicagoland area, going to school here, seeing him at Oklahoma, once he starts to get his confidence and once he starts to see the success, it only goes up. He's one of those guys, like that 17-point game is going to be huge for him because he's going to now see, I can score 17. I can score 20 points in an NBA game. And then he's going to build and build and build. And I think the same thing happened to Oklahoma when he had his first bit of success. He's like, oh, I'm ready for this level. And I think, again, the NBA, man, I'm telling you, he had 20 points. I mean, he had basically 20 points, shot 70% from the field. Was able to kind of hold his own a little bit against the Memphis Grizzlies team that had Jalen Wells, Ja Morant, Cedric Coward, KCP, you know what I mean? Like Jaren Jackson, all of these guys. And I think those are the things that unlock a Jeremiah Fears. So I'm interested to see his next 2 or 3 games and see how he takes his first performance. Still not used to Jordan Poole in a Pelicans jersey either. Next, Bucks versus Wizards. Tough to tune into this game or stay locked into this game because early out the gate, the Bucks really handled business. There was a little bit of fight in the second half from the Wizards to have it respectable. But yeah, Giannis Antetokounmpo looked like an MVP, straight dominance. I love AJ Green and how he compliments Giannis on that side of the basketball. They're going to have games where I think they're going to be able to be a dominant team because Giannis is going to be dominant. And he lead the way. You got Miles Turner behind him, who I think had 2 or 3 blocks. KPJ was cooking before he got hurt. Hopefully it's not too significant for the sake of the Bucks. And yeah, I like this team. I like this team. Again, granted, they played a young, inexperienced Wizards team. And they were able to, be the better team. But I think that this Bucks roster is a little bit more better than we give it credit. Yeah, they don't have the star or the superstar or not, but they have a lot of guys that I honestly think complement the way that complements the way that Giannis likes to play, which is let him drive, let him do what he does, let him control the basketball, and everybody else is shot ready, willing, able, and capable of knocking down perimeter shots. Keyshawn George looked like the best Wizards player. Trey Johnson had an incredible rookie debut. He did what he does, which is scoring the basketball. But yeah, Keyshawn George, and he is a guy that I would put my money on to separate himself. I told y'all yesterday on the Tee It Up episode, he was one of my players. I think it was the first player I mentioned on the 10 players I'm buying the stock in. He's going to be hard for the Wizards to take off the floor. He can play with anybody. He can play with Sarr. He can play with Cam Whitmore. He can play with Trey Johnson. He can play with the vets, CJ and Chris Middleton. He guards up. He guards down. He can control the basketball off dribble handoffs into a 2-man game. He can shoot the 3, catch and shoot. Keyshawn George is going to be impossible to take off the floor. Is he going to be their face of the franchise? I'm not sure yet. But whenever they do get one, whether that's another year of lottery, if another one of these guys pop off, he is going to be one of the best complementary pieces that you can ask for your star player because he's so versatile and because he does so many impactful things on the basketball floor. Another one of the most disappointing performances, the Clippers. The Jazz came out of the gate, punched them in the face, early 40-something points, firing on all cylinders. Walker Kessler looked phenomenal. The big jumbo front court of Kessler, Markkanen, and Filipowski. Bryce Sensabaugh hit some threes off the bench. I mean, everybody. Keontae George was doing his thing. This is one of those wins that, like, caught me off guard. I was definitely expecting the Clippers to come out sharp, focused, and ready to, get that first win and kind of, start their journey of silencing doubters. But yeah, it was kind of a pathetic performance. Nobody really showed up. Um, Nobody had any intrigue. There's not one thing on here that I can say that was like, oh, nothing. I don't have anything. This game is all dominated by the way that the Jazz performed and the way that they were able to make shots, and how Will Hardy always finds a way to keep this Jazz offense moving and grooving and intriguing. Even when they're not projected to be a really good team, this team has some cool sets and offensive plays that they run, that Will Hardy should get a lot more love and credit for. Like, I feel like the last couple of years, even though they haven't been good, it's like, man, look what the Jazz are doing. Like, look at this and look at that. So I like what they're putting together over there. I think they're in the same boat as Washington, where, like, hopefully this year, one of these guys can submit themselves as like, hey, I'm your guy. So we'll see, and we'll be watching the Jazz a little bit more closely if they're going to be scoring the basketball like that. Game of the performance of the night. Performance that's going to just like dominate all of the conversations. Wemby. This is what everybody wanted. We were all projecting Wemby to have an incredible season. I don't think it's any surprise, but seeing it in real time was crazy, especially against Anthony Davis. And not just Anthony Davis, but a front court that's supposed to be one of the biggest front courts in the NBA. You got Lively. You got AD. You got PJ Washington, Cooper Fleck. Like, these guys are 6'10" across the board. It did not matter. And then not only was he a force in the paint, he also did hit some jump shots, had the ball in his hands, off the dribble, blocking shots. Just his presence on the floor limited. And if you watch this game in real time, you saw a lot of hesitation from the Mavericks. Anthony Davis considered and reconsidered a lot of different shot attempts. Same with Cooper Flag. Driving lanes that look open turn into driving and then just dribbling out to the perimeter because they didn't want to go up on Wemby. And if this is a glimpse of what we're going to see for the majority part of the season, then yeah, he rightfully should be in MVP conversations, and the Spurs should be a team that we project to have a little bit better of a year. They were able to perform and dominate like this without a De'Aaron Fox, without a Jeremy Sohan. So if you still have a guard like that, an all-star level guard, not in the fold, and you were able to have a win like this, it can only get scarier. Stephon Castle, who I think is like Jimmy Butler 2.0, a really, really good start to the season for him. Again, I feel like he's the same mold of a player of what I was saying for Keyshawn George with the Wizards, where it's just hard to take him off the floor. It's hard to take him off the floor. He don't shoot a lot of threes or, do all of the things that people like for analytical sake, but he gets the damn job done. And everywhere Stephon Castle goes, Stephon Castle wins. And they were getting Wemby the ball. He knew how to go downhill to get to the spots he needed to. He's comfortable with the ball, without the ball. He's going to give you maximum effort defensively. The Spurs, Devin Vassell was out there knocking down jump shots. Luke Cornett, when Wemby is in together, and even when Wemby exits, you still have size. Dylan Harper got some impressive reps. I love what the Spurs are doing, and they may be a year earlier than we projected. I was one of those people that was like, just make the playoffs, and then we'll get the. No, it may be now. The time may be now where this team is legit and Wemby is ready. And he said an interesting thing after this game. Going through the injury he had, which was the blood clots, and it was kind of uncontrollable, and it was, one of those things you just got to let it play out. He said he didn't want to take the game for granted anymore. And I feel that, like, having the game taken away from you like that and not really knowing and not being sure, it would make a person lock in and really want to, leave everything out on the floor. And that first performance, that was like what he did on Christmas against my Knicks. This is the first game. Like, I can imagine, like, this is the reality of what it could look like on a night-to-night basis. Not averaging 40, but like being that dominant where he's getting and one dunks, reversed. Like, y'all seen it. Incredible video game type shit. The league should be scary. The league should be put on notice. Even if it's just one game, the league should be put on notice, because Anthony Davis is one of those guys, and I think Anthony Davis is on his way to have an incredible year too. But boy, Wemby doing that and making Anthony Davis look like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm in the NBA and I'm a front court player, I'm a little scared. And if I have my eyes on the MVP, I gotta go a little harder. Suns versus Kings, a game that turned out to be exciting. Kings controlled the game early on, and the Suns didn't really look that well. And I'm like, oh man, my boy D Book about to have to deal with this, and he still may. They're right. They're going to have nights where they're just not as potent because some teams are better. But to see them fight, claw, and scrape back into this game and end up getting the win, I thought was dope. And Dylan Brooks, man, you can say whatever you want about Dylan Brooks. His impact is on a different level. He's not the greatest scorer. He's not an isolation guy. He's not like a threat to just destroy you, but just the energy, the confidence that he is bringing to the table defensively, just like he is ready to do whatever it takes to win. And I feel like that enlivens the team, especially when you're on your way to a comeback victory. You need those moments. Him and DeMar DeRozan getting in each other's face, him hitting them shots and talking shit. And then D-Book finding a way to control the game down the stretch and get to wherever he wanted was the D-Book that I want to see. That's the D-Book I think we all missed from last year. He had some playmaking, opportunities here. I thought Colin Gillespie was really nice. Good to see Mark Williams healthy and on the floor. Ryan Dunn, my boy, my brother, was real productive in his minutes. So the Suns are a team that's hard for me to gauge. I don't want to overshoot them, but they're not going to be an easy out. You're not just going to walk in Phoenix with this team fully healthy and they're just going to lay over. They got some dogs over there, and they're going to make you, earn every single win that you have in the Valley. DeMar played really well. Zach LaVine was sharp, and then in the second half, some things slowed up for them. Again, no Keegan Murray, no Domantas Sabonis. Russell Westbrook, number 18, wasn't feeling it. Malik Monk gave them some nice minutes there, especially down the stretch in the fourth. And then Keon Ellis. I don't know how long Keon Ellis is going to be in Sacramento. I feel like somebody going to trade for him. And then Devin Carter, like that's a real situation where those two sides, that's odd that they're just like that fast. Devin Carter and the Kings just don't fuck with each other. And he's probably going to get traded too. And then the last game of the night, Timberwolves versus Blazers. Blazers are one of the teams that I'm adopting this year, being a fan of, really locking in with them and the Mavs. I said the numbers on the board. They came out and played well, man. Defensively, this team is just going to always put themselves in position to be able to have a chance. When you think about Drew Holiday, Donovan Clingan, Tamani Kamara, like those three being in your lineup is going to give other teams hell. You know what I mean? You got some perimeter defense, paint defense. You got size, length, even when Jeremy Grant, Matisse Thybulle was out there playing. So I think they're gonna be able to stay in some games. Now, what we saw last night is where they're going to struggle, right? Anthony Edwards down the stretch for the Timberwolves was able to be a consistent answer. They had, basket after basket. He was there, and he was delivering. And then, of course, the last shot, or the second to last shot over to Monty Kamara, where he kind of made him stumble or whatnot. MVP type of stamp for Ant-Man. MVP type of performance on the road. A gritty, tough Trailblazers team at home trying to push that win out, and Anthony Edwards just would not be told no. No Rob Dillingham says a lot, as far as like potent minutes. Matter of fact, I can't even remember if I saw Rob Dillingham, and I'm not here to say that Rob Dillingham didn't play at all, but boy, let me check this box score. I can't tell you a memory, and I watched a lot of this because, again, I'm tuning into the Blazers. Yeah. No DNP from Rob Dillingham. DNP. Love the minutes from Terrence Shannon. Love that they love Jalen Clark. I think he has value to this team. Naz Reid, I want to see some more minutes from, obviously. Rudy Gobert balled. Kind of threw me off. And love the aggression from J-Mac. J-Mac shot 3 or 4 from 3 at 75% clip. 12 shots. I like that for J-Mac. I ain't mad at if J-Mac can get us to about 14, 15 shots per game. When he's aggressive, I think this team is different. And Jeremy Grant looked like the Jeremy Grant from some years ago. If he is, again, kind of like Nikola Vucevic, if this is how Jeremy Grant is going to be playing, and this is the type of production he's going to be giving the Blazers, then, hey, man, some team is going to call and acquire him. Shaedon Sharpe, not the performance I wanted to see after the extension, but, 81 more games. Denny, I see you. That boy Denny always in the right place at the right time for the Blazers. I felt like every time I looked up, he was somewhere making a play, getting to the line, driving, transition, getting things done. So another great night of NBA basketball. Let me know y'all thoughts. There's too many thoughts for me to just dominate everything. I'm sure y'all have a bunch of opinions. Some of these teams are y'all teams. Some things may have alleviated some stress for you. Some things may have added some stress. Go down in those comments. Let me know what's on your mind about your team or whatever you saw in the last couple of days. We got some good games tonight that I can't wait to lock into. I'm excited. I know y'all excited. Lock in at the Pee Wee the Plug channel all season long. I'm not going anywhere. We locked in. I'll see y'all tomorrow. I'm out. Peace.